Hello, welcome back to Gasbbuteo Tabletop Football, where today we're going to discuss the format of Gasbbuteo League and a few things that just sort of clarify how we're going to play the tournament. Right, now starting off with this fixture table that I've got. I have changed this since the last video. Visually, I've changed it because I had the teams listed down here along this no play line. The no play line is obviously a team can't play itself, Bows can't play themselves, so that's blocked out. Borussia Mönchengladbach can't play themselves, etc., etc., and so forth. Now, above that line, if you were doing home and away legs, you would have matches up there as well. We're not doing home and away legs in this. We're just doing the one match. Each team is neither home nor away. They're just playing each other at Gasbbuteo Stadium. So we've only got that bottom half there to consider for matches. And that's why, rather than putting dates in there where we could play the fixtures, I put sequential numbers so we could see what order the matches would be. Now, that's something that I've also had to change because on the old table, I was starting down here, and to try and randomize the teams that you would see, I did a sort of thing where I had first match, second match, third match, fourth match. Then I moved to the row above, the diagonal row above, then the diagonal row below, above, below, above, below, to try and spread that sort of the sequence of numbers out. Now, that was all well and good, except what I noticed was the first match was going to be Spirit of Sabuteo versus Bohemians, which is a match that I already played just 2 weeks ago. So that would be a little bit of a repetition on the channel. So what I've done, I've changed the sequence of the matches. They obviously still numbered 1 to 28, but rather than starting at the centre here, I've started at the top and just worked my way down. So first match, second match, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, 8th, 9th, 10, and so forth and so forth and so forth. So that means the first match now is still Bohemians, but it's against Borussia Mönchengladbach. That'd be interesting to see. And that what would have been the first match, Spirit of Sabuteo versus Bohemians, is now the last match. So it's match 28. Now, the only issue with doing it in this sort of sequence is that because you've got teams in alphabetical order there and teams in alphabetical order there, what you find is, so say for instance, if you look at Bristol Rovers, they're the second match, Bristol Rovers versus Borussia Mönchengladbach, and then the third match is also Bristol Rovers versus Chigwell Town. The fourth match, Chigwell Town versus Dundee, so Chigwell in one after the other, Rovers one after the other, and that carries on through all the teams, certainly for the first row, and looking at it before all the other rows as well. So we're just going to have to deal with that and see how we get on with it, try and make it as interesting as possible as we work our way through, and then that should be okay for the sequence of the matches. Now, I did also have a little think about how we're going to end this. And so I've decided, I know I chatted about this a little bit in the last video. If you can see the cursor there, I don't know if you can read it, but it says, when we get to the end, the top two teams, and we'll work through normal football scoring for that. So, you go for points first, and then if they're equal, goals for, etc., or goal difference, and then goals for, and work our way down the table until we find out who's top. So the top two teams, rather than being the top one is just a winner and that's the end of it, top two teams will replay each other, because obviously they would have played each other at some point in the tournament, and that'll be effectively a final. And then rather than having a losers cup, like a third and fourth place, which is always a bit boring, what we'll have instead for the final match, so it'll be match 30, will be the bottom two teams, again determined by their stats on the table, will replay each other for, I've called it a wooden spoon there, but basically the Losers' Cup. So someone is very definitely going to become the champion, and someone is very definitely going to become the losers, the bottom team, the wooden spoon winners, whatever you want to call it. Right, so, and also, another thing I wanted to talk about here is what's in it for these teams. There has to be some sort of prize, doesn't there? I know these are just plastic figures on a YouTube channel that's about Gasbbuteo, but it's nice to think that the winning team is going to get something better than the others. So I came up with I think a fairly reasonable solution for that, and that is whoever wins this tournament and becomes champion, that actual team, I will take a look at it and go and buy a brand new version of the team. So if it's Bristol Rovers, for instance, I could buy a new sort of kit for Bristol Rovers, get them painted up. Same for Chigwell Town, Mangotsfield. Little secret between me and you, the figures I use for Mangotsfield aren't actually a Mangotsfield Gasbbuteo team. So it'd be nice if they could win and we could get an actual Gasbbuteo team set for them. It'd be also good if we could get one for Borussia Mönchengladbach, because they're a new footy team. So it'd be nice if we could get Borussia Mönchengladbach on some sort of bucket basis with a nice paint job by Alan Porter or someone like that. I don't know what I'd do if Spirit Gasbbuteo win, because obviously they're a fictional team. I suppose in theory what I could do is create an away kit for them so they could win that. But whoever wins it, they're going to get something. They're basically going to get a new box set of a team for their team, if you see what I mean, yeah? So that will give us a prize to work towards. Right, so I think that's all we need to sort out. Oh, the only other thing I was going to say is these videos, as I play them, I don't want them really to be lingering on. I know normally I have a bit of a chat before a video, and then I do a sort of bit of running commentary, verbal diarrhea, call it what you will. And then at the end we have a bit of a laugh or whatever, and then I come back for a second half, and it sort of goes on like that. Now, because there's quite a lot of matches to get through, I'm not going to do the sort of intro and messing about. I'll obviously talk throughout the game, but what we want to do is just get right into it. So it starts off, it would be like Gasbbuteo League Match 1, and then the video will come on. It would be like, right, 10 minutes, let's go. Do the first half, keep the video running, reset it up, and then try and do the second half in the same video. So that'll keep each match in one video, which probably end up being about 25 minutes long. And, I want to keep that as close to 2 hours of 10 minutes within one video as I can get. So that's what I'm going to aim for, and I hope that's all right to watch. And I think that'll mean it'll be, if people want to sort of pick and choose which matches they want to watch, that'll be a bit easier for them as well. All right, sound. Right, I think that is everything sorted out, ready for the Gasbbuteo League tournament. So the very next video, not on the channel, but in this, will be match 1, which will be Bohemians versus Borussia Mönchengladbach. And that'll be, come on, 10 minutes, let's get this done, see what the score is, and get the first results on the table. Now, I know what you're thinking about those videos. If you do them sort of cut down with minimal talking, how are you, the viewer, going to keep an eye on what's going on here? Well, if you look at these fixtures, they fit nicely into, if you imagine, they fit nicely into batches of 4, right? So you've got 8 teams, they're all going to play each other. So if you like each round, imagine if it was like football weekends, each weekend, 4 of those teams would be playing the other 4. So you'd have 4 matches on. So each 4 games is effectively like round 1, round 2, round 3, etc. So what I'll do after each 4 games is do a round 1 sort of chat where we can look at the table, and every team should have some sort of result on there, certainly after the first week. If there's any sort of duplications where a team plays twice, I don't suppose that'll matter, because effectively it'd be like the other teams having a game in hand later in the season, so in a later round. So that's what we're going to do for that. Every 4 games, we'll say it's the end of one round, and then we can look at this chart and see how everyone is getting on. All right? Right. Anyway, I've kept you way too long. That's almost a 10-minute video. But until we start for the next game, well, as ever, up the gas.